And we're up and going. Hey, when's the last time you seen Mr.
So,
Deeds?
Mr. T.
Yeah, the Adam Sandler remake.
For a second, I thought you were talking about an actual human. I haven't seen Mr. Deeds in, I would estimate, say a good 15 years.
I was trying to fix something on the TV downstairs in the living room. So
All right.
I turned on Mr. Deeds just as like a placeholder for something else.
Mm-hmm.
And then we ended up just watching the whole thing. That movie's so goddamn stupid. And yet it's right after Prime Sandler, but in the middle of like you've got like Big Daddy, you've got Mr. Deeds, you've got a bunch of the rom-coms he was doing with Drew Barrymore.
Is that pre or post Lil Nicky?
It's definitely within the same time frame.
Yeah, I attribute those two together a lot.
Yeah. Well, that section of his career, the Little Nicky, Big Daddy, Mr. Deeds, 51st Dates, I guess, to a lesser extent, because that was a little later. Yeah.
Yeah. Yep.
But still kind of the same Sandler era of these movies aren't good, but they're not horrible. They're just mediocre. Like, what was he trying to do with these kind of movies that all probably made $100 million?
Yeah, very, very watchable movies.
Yeah. Little Nicky, goddamn. You see some of his movies from that era, and you're just like, how did this even get off the ground?
Why?
I mean, it's all on the strength of Sandler. That's it. It's the only reason those movies got off the ground.
And all the goodwill he got from all the golden era Sandler movies.
Yeah. Well, and also it doesn't hurt that he produced all of them, I think. I mean, definitely post golden era movies, he's produced all of them.
Yeah, once Happy Madison became a thing, he kind of ran the show.
Yeah. So, just for the people out there, watch Mr. Deeds, or don't.
Mr. Nicky.
Mr. Nicky, Happy Deeds. You know what else? What else? I've realized if you watch these movies, because we've talked about how he's been able to get these movies made, and you know how successful they've been, and how it seems like everybody likes them in Hollywood, but also how much or how often he's able to get straight up bankable A-list stars in his movies.
Yeah.
I mean, like we talked about Pacino, but that's late career Pacino where he's doing silly stuff and he just doesn't give a shit. But I mean, Winona Ryder is the love interest of that movie. Winona Ryder. Like at that point,
to be fair, at that time, she wasn't really a hot commodity.
Definitely not. But she's coming off of a career of not making silly movies like that. Like she was like a serious actress.
Yeah.
So you get that. I mean, Kathy Bates in The Waterboy.
Oh yeah, of course.
Kathy Bates has no business in that movie. I mean, she's obviously incredible in it. She's perfect for the role. She has no business being in that movie.
That's why she has zero business being in that movie. Right. She's too good for Waterboy.
Too good.
She elevates Waterboy.
Insane. Little Nicky's got fucking Harvey Keitel in it. What's Harvey Keitel doing in that movie?
I forgot about that. Yeah, you're right.
Come on, man. Doesn't make any sense. Hold on. Okay. Yeah. I'm trying to think of what else. You go down I like every one of them has at least one bankable star.
Yeah. I mean, and not to mention his roster of friends is, pretty highly esteemed.
Yeah. Doesn't hurt that he's best friends with like Jennifer Aniston and Drew Barrymore, so he can just give them a call and be like, hey, do you want to be the love interest in one of these movies? And they're just like, well, I love Adam so much. I don't care that this is poorly written drivel.
Yeah. We'll have fun and make some money. Why not?
Yeah, why not? I'd do it. Fuck it. If I was Sandler's friend, I don't care what script he gave to me. And that's not even coming from like I would do anything at this point. But even from a creative standpoint, if Adam Sandler was like, I got this really, really silly movie, it's probably gonna get its fucking head blown off by the critics, but there's a role in it where you're a rodeo clown and you get to hang out with Shaquille O'Neal and Steve Buscemi for a couple of days. Yeah,
Right.
sign me up. Sign me the fuck up.
Sure. We're also filming in Hawaii, so
Yeah, right. So, there's a couple of perks. No big deal. You're going to get a fat check from this because it's definitely going to do $120 million at the box office. So, okay, Mr. Sandler.
Okay, I guess.
All right. I just had to get that off my chest because I've been thinking about it as if it was like some Oscar-winning movie that's stayed with me. It's just weird that those movies, they're not good, but they have this lasting effect on you. Mm-hmm. Where like I don't know if I've seen Mr. Deeds more than 3 times, including the other night, and yet I'm quoting it, and I know what scenes are coming next. And like I know the movie beat for beat, and maybe it's because it's so simple and stupid.
That has something to do with it. I think it also has to do with the fact that you were simple and stupid when you watched it the first time.
Yeah.
So
that's true.
But again, I feel like a lot of those movies, like we talked about before, we're talking about that sort of era of movies where the like really dumb slapstick comedies.
Yeah, the silly Farley Brother type movies.
Yeah,
of like the
mid-90s to early 2000s.
How to get rid of a man. What is that movie? How to get rid of a man in 10 days.
Yeah, it's good. It's a Spike Lee joint, right?
Something about Mary, Cable Guy. Dumb and Dumber.
Me, Myself, and Irene.
Pick any Ben Stiller movie from that era.
Yeah, basically. But they all, I wouldn't say all, but most of them have just like this charm, this heart to them.
Yeah.
That you can tell that they're not made with malice. Like there's a soft core to the gross out humor and the slapstick.
Yeah.
I think is endearing.
I was saying to somebody the other day, let's get into these beers first. We'll get back to it because I have a point to make.
Okay.
All right. So you went and picked up something from our beloved Redlight, local brewery / bar. And, I'll let you take the floor, sir, and kind of explain the situation.
All right. So Redlight brewed a new brew by the name of Schoko's Keller. It's a Franconian-style Keller beer fermented in oak. And I'm very proud to say, we got a cold read, baby.
Oh, yeah.
And it's in fine print, so it's going to be a while.
All right,
so strap in for a second.
All right, let's get comfortable, ladies and gentlemen.
Okay. Ready? Ready? Ready.
Ready. Come on.
This beer is a tribute to the place where lager beer was born and the old traditions that are still practiced there. That place is Franconia in Bavaria. Franconia is a magical place for lager fans. The tradition of aging beers in, quote, Kellers, or cellars dug into the bedrock of a hillside still exists there. The Kellers maintain a constant low temperature that helps the lager yeast slowly ferment and give these beers crisp, clean flavors. This beer was brewed using all German malts and German and Czech hops. It was brewed using the old method of triple decoction mashing, 100% fermented in and lagered in an oak heater. It is unfiltered. It is bottle conditioned using the tradition of space
Spanish?
We're using fresh wort to ferment. Or re-ferment, I should say. We use Side Pole Pills wort, which is a beer I love. We hope you enjoy it. Prost. And also, there's a little quote from Joe Strummer here. When you blame yourself, you learn from it. If you blame someone else, you don't learn nothing. Because, hey, it's not your fault. It's his fault over there. This is a 5.8% ABV brewed and bottled by hand at Redlight Beer Parlor and Brewery in Orlando, Florida.
And with that was Adam Obesius Rodriguez, and I am Marco Dupa. This is the One Baron Podcast.
Lost to be found by someone to say
I didn't think that was going to come up.
yes, I'm bored when it's bright out, so bored when it's bright out, 4 to 5 a.m. takes me to a place where I fit in.
Stacking for beers bigger than my head.
I don't think so. That's actually a cool angle. I can't really achieve that. So, once we got done watching Mr. Deeds, I was thinking about all of those movies that we just mentioned. And they have zero chance doing well critically.
Right.
And I think that that's unfair. I think critics, even to this day, can't wrap their heads around a movie being silly for silly's sake.
Yeah. There has to be a greater purpose.
Always. If it's a comedy, if it's a horror, if it's anything other than a melodrama, there has to be some kind of metaphor, some kind of double meaning where we're trying to say something, where we're using this character as an allegory for this thing, and it always has to be something.
Yeah, I found that a lot of the Apatow movies kind of made the mold for critically acclaimed comedies for this entire generation, where it can be silly, it can be gross out, it can be slapsticky, it can be whatever it wants to be as a comedy. But then there's also like a serious through line to it that is some relatable dramedy subtext.
Yeah. Well, I think the problem with that is Judd Apatow, and I love Judd Apatow, but he started sniffing his own dookie with that.
Yeah, well, and you saw that start to happen, or not to happen, but to be reflected in the reviews too, and people's turnout to his movies.
Ironically, I think it started with Adam Sandler, with Funny People. I think that's the first movie where I was like, it's a little self-indulgent.
Yeah. Well, and looking back, I mean, most of his movies are a little chunky. They could be cut down by maybe 15, 20 minutes most of the time.
Yeah. And
still get the same effects without a lot of the extra fat on it.
Mm-hmm.
But, yeah, I think people started to see it as being a bit formulaic, it's sort of a one-trick pony in a way, and you started to see that reflected in the reviews too.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, people started to pick up on the. Well, it's also not that they picked up on anything that he wasn't. I mean, he's just doing the same thing. It's not like he was making different movies and then people were starting to shit on him for it. I mean, he was using a formula, just changing the characters, basically.
Yeah, and circumstances, basically.
Yeah, I'm looking him up to see what's the last thing he did, or what's the latest thing he did, I should say, or rather.
Yeah, I feel like there wasn't something like super long ago. I think he did something reasonably recently.
He just did The King of Staten Island.
Right, which actually seemed to be a bit of a return to form. People seem to like that.
People liked it.
Mm-hmm.
People like that movie.
Yeah. That came out on Amazon, right?
Yeah. Yeah, I mean, I've been thinking about watching it. Just, I mean, I like Pete Davidson. I'm not one of these people that's like, fuck that guy.
No, I don't get why people hate Pete Davidson.
Yeah, I don't know. I don't know what he
I don't
did.
understand. I mean, besides the fact that he was an asshole at UCF, but
But even
feelings
that,
aside,
though, was like, I mean, he warned people, and they didn't listen. So
he
it's
didn't
like,
listen.
he's a guy who is suffers from mental illness, and he's admitted that, and he's been pretty open about trying to work on it and everything. But it's like, guy like that who's like, look, don't do that, and you go,
And then you do it.
It's like, well,
yeah.
But no, I get it still. You didn't go see him when he did that, right? You just
No, I didn't. I thought about it though. I actually was considering going, but no, I didn't make it to that show, which was fortunate apparently.
Yeah, would have been cool, but whatever. Anyway, that movie's supposedly really good, so I don't know. The last thing he directed was that Gary Shandling documentary, and then before that it was Trainwreck. So he hasn't been that busy in the past 5 years, which I guess is kind of good. You don't want to look at his filmography and then see like 8 duds that we missed from 2015 to now.
Yeah.
So I give him credit. Anyway, I just think critics and society as a whole, it's only when you see people talking about it after the fact where people are like, oh, I love this movie, and oh man, yeah, I forgot about this one, mostly on Twitter and stuff. I see a lot of nostalgia for things that I'm just like, this is bad. It was bad then and it's bad now.
It's still bad, yeah.
but there's a different appreciation for things like that now. Like when people always, I'll see people post about stuff like on the Disney Channel and stuff, and they'd be like, "Oh man, this is a classic right here." It's like, that show sucked. It sucked then. It sucks now. Don't.
I have to come clean about something that may tarnish my nerd credentials right now. I was working. I'm working from home, as people may know. And I just needed something in the background, something that wouldn't take my attention away too much, but just some noise, something to just have on. And I have Disney Plus, Flex. And I decided to go down the Marvel animated rabbit hole. And I found the X-Men animated series, which I had watched as a kid.
Of course.
Classic, yes. I started watching it, and I was distracted by the fact that it's awful. It's so bad. Gaspingly bad animation and VO work.
Yeah.
Top to bottom.
Yeah.
Just like astonishing that, like, I tried to put myself in my parents' shoes watching me watch this and wondered how they didn't just switch the channel and be like, we're not watching this today. Like, this is not good. This is bad TV. Stop it.
Yeah.
But I loved it as a kid. I had all the toys and like was super into it. And that was my my port into the X-Men universe.
Yeah.
But man, it does not hold up at all.
No.
It's really,
a lot of them
it's
don't.
unlike the Batman animated series. The Batman animated series is still really good.
That's what I was gonna say. Is like it illustrates just how good the Batman series is because of how much it holds up. When you watch these other shows, like we talked about it. I don't know, a couple episodes ago. I was watching the Spider-Man animated series, and it's not good. It's not good. It's
same vibes as X-Men.
Yeah, and I mean it looks like it's animated in the same studio, and there is crossover between those shows. And what I found out that is later on in the series is like deep crossover. Like they do multiple episode arcs where it's not just a this character visits the set for a day, but it's like 8 or 9 episodes in a row.
Yeah.
So yeah, no, that makes sense. People and that's a perfect example. People sitting here, they want to tell you that it's a masterpiece, and it's like, look, man, it's nostalgic. I get it. and we all loved it when we were kids, but it sucks now.
It's bad. Not good.
Yeah. Most of those shows on the Disney Channel sucked. Most of those Disney Channel original movies, you watch them shits now, those movies suck. Except for Brink.
Okay. I respect that.
As I disobey my own rules of this conversation.
Except for the ones I like.
So, anyway, it's not like me talking about this is going to change anything. I just you get older and you just realize like there should be a separate category for just silly movies where they don't have to compete against avant-garde, art house, dark comedies where you're like, where's the comedy in this? This movie's not funny. And these like big brain, like, oh, you didn't get it. And it's like, there's nothing to get. The movie sucked. It wasn't funny.
Well, I just feel like they're dramatically different things and should be treated as such.
Yeah.
You know?
Yeah.
Not to say that a comedy can't win Best Picture. Obviously it can, but I just feel like you're grading it on a different scale.
But how good does that movie have? A comedy that wins Best Picture would have to be a movie that really isn't a comedy. It just happens to be funny.
Yeah, and I think that's tough because we're kind of contradicting ourselves a little bit, I think, in saying that, like, a straight-up just funny, like, have you rolling in the aisles comedy, still not of the stature to beat out a dramatic period piece, maybe.
Well, okay,
You know?
so but I don't believe that though. I'm saying that that's the given take from the Academy is that there's no way on God's green earth Tropic Thunder would beat any movie from 2007, 2008. Like it just wouldn't.
Yeah.
It just wouldn't happen. Even though Tropic Thunder, I think, is one of the best movies of that year.
Yeah, for sure, 100%. I feel like we discount comedy, just humor.
Yeah.
Because it's I don't know. It does. I feel like it's such a fleeting thing. Like it doesn't stick with you very long.
Yeah.
You know, you laugh in the moment, and it may be a great joke that you remember the next day, and you can tell to your friend or something. But I feel like a drama, something that really affects you deeply, and like, you know, hits you in the feels just right, stays with you in a stronger way than a comedy could.
Yeah, I think by nature of a comedy,
why.
it just doesn't. It's just not going to have the lasting effect, just because comedy as a genre, as a thing, is meant to be consumed in the moment. I mean, you can't keep telling the same joke over and over again, but you can watch a movie that makes you cry over and over again, and it could still make you cry.
Mm-hmm.
So
That's true.
But I think, I mean, because I saw this push for stunt actors and stunt choreographers to be rewarded at the Academy, which I'm all for.
Of course.
And I think, you know, how I mean, I guess if you start adding too many awards, it becomes the fucking Emmys or the Golden Globes. But I just think it's such a fucking insult for the Academy to just be like, all right, we're talking about real movies now. You know? It's just
right.
This was bullshit.
And even worse, real actors.
Mm-hmm.
Discounting every stunt performer who has to fill in the shoes, sometimes almost 50-50 for the actual actor. You know, like,
right.
It's insane. That is still acting, and that is even more so like an athletic performance that the face of it can't do.
Yeah.
So, you know,
can't do
these
or
guys
won't do.
And ladies are putting themselves in line and not really getting the recognition they deserve.
Yeah.
So, yeah, I'm all for that.
Well, I'll talk to my connect at the Academy. We'll get it going.
Okay. Yeah.
Yeah. In the meantime, let's talk about well, fuck. I forgot how we wanted to segue into this.
Well, this certainly isn't how, Marco.
Yeah, it's not a good segue. I'm sorry, guys. I'm rusty on the hosting thing.
That's okay. We used to not have segues for a very long time.
That's right.
So if you're a true fan, you remember those days.
You remember the days of, all right, we're done with that. Let's talk about
So,
this. And then
what do you think about?
Then everyone in the room going, nice segue, man.
Nice. Real nice. You did it.
Real good
Clean.
segue, dude. Yeah, you got us there, man.
Sometimes we even just call it out and be like, segue,
Yeah.
which is fun.
That's so bad. Oh, man, can you imagine a writer writing a movie or a book and just being just chapter 5,
Segue.
plot twist.
Side note, it's like looking at a salad and going, hamburger. It's still not, but
No.
that's okay.
Mm-mm. So how how much time in the day do you think you spend playing video games?
During the week?
Yeah.
Ooh. Well, work's been a drag, man. So I've only had about hour to an hour and a half every night dedicated to video games.
Think about all of the constructive things you could have done in that hour that you spent playing a goddamn video game. You worthless piece of cow dung. I hate you. Don't ever come back to this podcast again until in that hour you do something productive with your life. Read a book, practice a martial art, learn a new skill. But by God, if you spend that hour playing another video game, I'll come to your house and I'll kill you. You understand that? I'll kill you. Yeah. Yes.
Yes.
Show me those little boy tears.
Yes.
Yes.
Gamer tears.
Oh, the gamer tears.
Mhm.
Yeah. It obviously, if you don't know, you're giving her that whole thing. Lottie just gave Errol an entire chicken bone.
Okay.
Yeah. Sorry, I got distracted.
We'll monitor her when she takes her to the vet when she's choking to death.
Yeah. When the bone just gets stuck in her throat sideways, like
A cartoon.
It's just like a full bone. Yeah, if you can't tell, we're talking about fucking Joe Rogan and his idiotic comments about video games. I think it's been kind of beat to death at this point. Everybody giving their take on it. Because it's just a dumb thing to say.
In the greater context of things, I should say, he makes a point that is not necessarily incorrect, and it's something that I felt as a gamer, which is playing video games a lot of the time feels like it's just a waste of time. You could dedicate that to working out, learning a new language, reading a book, playing guitar, like other things that we would deem as more productive in your life and more useful than, being able to say, I beat Mario again. But at the same time, counterpoint is that hobbies are important and you deserve to have downtime, and it's okay to do something that doesn't have a use per se.
Yeah.
As long as it's your downtime, it's unwinding time. It's okay to do that as a hobby. It's fine. If it's taking over your life, different story. There are some people who are addicted to video games.
Yeah.
And it's affecting their life in a way that is detrimental. And just like any other addiction, it takes time and work to stop doing it. Rogan himself has said that he gets to a point where he plays games too much. So maybe that's where he's coming from.
He doesn't play games too much. He played one fucking game, and now all of a sudden that gives him he's got the gamer title because he played Quake. He played one fucking game, and he's like, I spent a bunch of money getting my LAN up in my house, and man, I played hour, blah 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 blah. It's like, oh, okay, yeah, you get it, you did it
At
once.
one time.
Yeah.
I just feel like that maybe is more of a personality trait than anything else. With martial arts, he's addicted to it too.
Yeah.
He's addicted to that lifestyle. And maybe that's just his addictive personality, and he just got really into playing a game. Like, that doesn't mean everybody's going to react that way, and I think it's obviously not true that everyone will waste their lives if they play games. But I can see both sides of the coin at the same time. Dumb quote.
I mean, the thing about it is the only difference, what he's talking about is any kind of addiction. To say that I mean, what he said about that, you could say about almost any activity and any kind of addiction. You spend 3 hours a day reading a book, and what did you gain from that? What did you get? Did you make any money? Are you more successful now because of that? No, because his point, and maybe he just didn't fully express the point, or it got lost somewhere in translation. But from what I gather from watching the episode, because I watched it, is the end game is what's not getting you anywhere. So you're spending all this time and you're not getting better at anything and you're not gaining anything from it. So it's just not a healthy use of your time if you're spending that much time doing it. Right? And then he's like, you play video games for 3 hours a day. What if you train jujitsu for 3 hours a day? In a couple of years, you could become a purple belt, maybe someday open your own school. And it's like, dude, what are you talking about?
Yeah, that was a very dumb line of thought that he got to, of like, because the entire idea was like, well, pretty much like 1% of people who play games can become like professional gamers, right?
Yeah, that was part of his point.
Right. And it's like, okay, but I guarantee you, like, I don't know, what do you want to say? Like 95% of gamers aren't playing to become pros? Like, that's not the point of it. It's a relaxation thing. I'd
say that number is lowering now. I think there's more people who are actively trying to become professionals at it.
Sure. Yeah. No. And same thing with like YouTube personalities and podcasters. Look at us.
Well, he spends 3 hours a day talking about elk meat and hunting.
Of course. Of course. Yeah. And there's been a lot of rebuttals saying like, well, listening to 3 hours of a podcast every time you post one is not a good use of your time either.
Yeah.
Like, you don't gain much from that a lot of the time too.
Well, he's not fucking Malcolm Gladwell, I'll tell you that.
Right. Have you ever tried DMT? But I think that it's rooted also in a place of ignorance about the current state of video games.
Yeah.
For me, I mean, specifically with narrative-based games, where they're telling, really elevated stories nowadays. There's a lot of people who are like, oh, well, the only reason like something like The Last of Us is put up on a pedestal is because it's basically as good as like the worst book you could read. Or like it's just like it's just better than most of the other trash that's out there in video games. I think that's demeaning to the entire genre. I think that games are getting way better at telling stories of consequence that make you think and make you feel things. So I think that comes from an older generation looking at games from this perspective that it's very limited, and it's not really paying dues to the writers of games nowadays. And set all that aside, there's entire communities of friends that have sprouted because of online gaming. A lot of people who are isolated otherwise, other than having their friends because they have no friends in their area because there's not enough people, or they don't get along with the people around them. Mm-hmm. So they go online and meet friends online and can meet up eventually in person. Not that any of us are doing that right now, but there are entire communities that are sprouting up because of gaming too. So I think writing off gaming as just a useless hobby is just wrong at this point.
I mean, the whole take was just wrong, and not even including all of the benefits that you just said, because those are enough to merit spending a couple hours of your day playing some video games. He's woefully ignorant to the fact that there are people making, and this millions of dollars, streaming on Twitch and YouTube. I mean, and that's not even exaggeration. They're making millions of dollars, and they're not even that good at some of these video games.
Mm-hmm. Well, and even if not millions, they're at least making a living. A lot of these streamers are just making a living on sponsorships, streams, YouTube videos, YouTube
Millions.
watches.
Millions. But he's coming from this place of like this old man. You're never gonna make anything out of those video games, and there's people who are making lavish livings. I mean, obviously, it's not every single person that jumps on Twitch. That's ridiculous. I mean, there's
well, neither are podcasters, neither
Right.
are comedians.
right.
You know, like it
Right.
takes that 1 or 2% who excel at it or get a lucky break, and they're the ones on top of the heap.
Yeah.
And
So-
that's true in anything, really.
Exactly. And it's like, look, he obviously drew the ire of the gaming community for all of these points and everything else that you can illustrate to him. And it's part of a larger problem of Joe Rogan becoming the consciousness of an entire generation of men.
Yeah.
You know, being the spiritual guide, the moral compass for like an alarming amount of people.
Yeah.
And I think that's the larger point. I think I don't know, man. For me, the love affair is over.
Do you take Ben Shapiro to do that? Or?
No, I even past that, because Ben Shapiro's been on the show before. I will say
Multiple times.
the first time that I saw Ben Shapiro on the show, I listened to the podcast because I was like, I actually didn't know who Ben Shapiro was. I knew of him, and I knew there was people who didn't like him, but I also knew that he was this intellectual and that he was somebody who, you know, supposed to be a heavyweight who could hold his own in any
And then
debate.
you found out he was a pseudo-intellectual.
Yeah. I listened to the whole thing, though. This is not coming from a guy who saw a 2-minute clip on Twitter and was like, oh, fuck that guy. I listened to the whole thing. I formed my opinion based on the evidence that was presented to me by the people who I'm judging. And, it started from there because there was a lot of points that Ben Shapiro made that I know for a fact from listening to so much Joe Rogan that he didn't agree with a lot of the stuff that he was saying, and he wasn't pushing back. And I know that people say, well, Joe Rogan's show isn't like a debate show. It's him having a conversation with people and trying to facilitate a interesting conversation and blah, blah, blah. I understand that. But Joe Rogan has gotten to a point where he is viewed in the same way as to a lot of people as CNN or Fox News, or I guess an alternative to those things.
He's a lot of people's mainstream media now.
Yeah. And so for him to continue to be like, look, man, I'm just a big old dumb guy. You know, I'm just a comedian. I just smoke weed. I'm just a big old dumb dude. Don't listen to me. It's like, I just think that you get to a point where, and you know what, this kind of goes back to the conversation that we had about Kim Kardashian and what falls under her responsibility the bigger she gets as a celebrity. And I don't know. I just think that part of me, it's like you say whatever you want and people are going to react however they want. But I don't respect a person who's like, look, man, I don't know what you want me to tell you. It's like you spent 3 hours with a guy who has said some pretty shitty things. Right. And there's barely any pushback. I mean, the minute he starts talking about Colin Kaepernick, it's just like, come on, man. You one episode you're a Kaepernick fan, the next episode you're like, yeah, I can see where you're coming from with this whole fuck that guy thing. It's like,
okay,
yeah,
cool. I just decided to give it a shot for the latest interview, and he starts off by saying he's afraid of going jogging in California because he's worried about protesters like killing him. And I was like, okay, that's what we're starting off on. Is protesters are endangering your life on your jog potentially. That's the joke that we're starting off on.
Yeah,
I'm done with this. No, thank you. Goodbye. Ta-ta.
Yeah, and Joe just sits there eating it up.
Yep.
People,
yeah. Do you jog every day? Okay. Thank you, Joe.
people say, it doesn't do anything to deplatform these people. You basically, if you give them a platform to kind of espouse their views, you give them enough rope to hang themselves with, and they'll do the dirty work for you, right?
Right.
But I mean,
which is what worked for you because you hadn't heard of Ben Shapiro before you saw him on his show.
That's true.
And when you did, you saw enough to go, I don't agree with this guy. I don't like him.
True. Very true.
So that worked out for you. But I guarantee there are a lot of kids out there and a lot of people in general who haven't formed an opinion strong enough to see through the bullshit.
Right.
So I think in those situations, deplatforming does make sense. But, at a certain point, you have to take a social responsibility to be educated and to know better and to research when you hear something that sounds alarming.
Yeah.
Yeah. Look at the other side. What are the facts? Do some research.
Yeah. Well, what's more alarming is I mean, I'm not bothered by the Jesus Christ. Her bark is like.
I know. But if I could say anything bad,
you live in a zoo.
His popularity doesn't bother me. It's awesome to see a guy, a stand-up comedian, able to parlay what was, 7-8 years ago, this thing that was considered niche by a lot of people to $100 million business. That's awesome. What bothers me is that there's people like, did you see what Joe Rogan said? It's like, I don't give a shit what Joe Rogan said. Okay.
Yeah.
And that's
about
what
MMA.
I wish more, unless it's about MMA. Definitely, yeah. And I just wish that more people didn't cite him as the end-all, be-all of a point. Now, if you're a person who acknowledges the fact that he can be wrong, and he has been wrong, and, you support him for other reasons, and you still enjoy the show, that's one thing. That's cool. Fine by me, sure. But if you're one of these people who's like, well, I mean, Joe Rogan said, and it's like, come on, man, just try a little harder.
Can't really be your source.
Yeah. Nobody on these podcasts can be. Us included.
Except us. Oh, come on. Damn it.
Sorry. I was going too straight with the bit. It wasn't a bit. I was going too straight with it. I was going too straight, man. I should have known that there was a joke in there. And I didn't.
You gotta dig for it sometimes,
Mm-hmm, mm-hmm.
Yes, and energy. You okay? Everything okay over there?
It's getting weird in here, man. It's getting weird.
Okay.
Yeah. Dogs are acting up. Doors are opening. Cats are meowing. Dogs are barking.
Anarchy.
Anyway, I don't know. I see a lot of pushback on Joe Rogan right now. Partly because he's so popular, partly because he endorsed Bernie Sanders and then turned around and said, he would rather not vote or vote for Trump than vote for Biden. And then you get all the people on the left who, want his head. Yeah. And he's also said some problematic things in the past. So it's like, there's no excuse for some of the stuff that he said. Oh. You back?
You're still there, yeah.
Are we back? Okay. Yeah, there's no excuse for some of the stuff that he has said in the past that people like, this is some problematic shit. So I don't know. I guess I'm not really saying anything with this other than to say, just don't let him be the end all be all of
and that's been something we've been preaching for a long time. So I think if people haven't gotten it from now, then they don't want to.
That's true. Yeah. I don't know. It's just when you see him go viral over a take like that, it's not the take itself. It's the people in the comment section who are like, that's not what he means. He meant this. And it's like, what do you know? He said it. You don't have to translate for him. He had 3 hours to get his point across. You don't need to we don't need to figure out what he said. We don't need to delve deep into the archives and try to decode Roganisms. He said what he said.
And that's the thing. It's what fandom does online, especially, is like it breeds this devil's advocatism. You know?
Yeah.
You infer what you want. I've seen it with Trump supporters, where he clearly says certain words. He says them a certain way in a certain order. And now I would say the vast majority of people interpret those words literally and take them for what they are. But then you'll find a Trump supporter who takes those words and goes, well, he didn't mean that, but what he was trying to get at was this larger issue, which is X, Y, and Z.
Yeah.
And so really he's not wrong. He's just saying it this way. It's like, okay, but you also have to take words at face value sometimes. Yeah. And that goes for anybody, any personality, any entity. I'm sure we said some dumb things in the past.
Yeah.
Maybe in this episode.
Yeah.
You can pick apart if you'd like to. And then just put them in your back pocket and throw them away. But
right.
My point is,
you shove them up the ass. That's what you can do.
You can do that too. Pull them out, flush them down.
That's right.
But my point is that, especially online, there's a lot of this sort of culture that's cultivated behind personalities that you're not able to see any opposing views because you enjoy that personality so much.
Would you say it's a cult of personality?
I love that song. For audio listeners, we're staring at each other creepily. But yes, I think that's exactly what it is. And it's unfortunate because that, Rogan's all about free speech and speaking your own truth and all that. Great. But if you can't see beyond him, then how much truth are you really looking for,
Yeah.
So stick that in your back pocket and poop it out and flush it.
That's right. I could spend another podcast and we could create a new podcast where we listen to Joe Rogan's show and then we just pick apart all the points that are made on the show. And I think it'd only be about 10 episodes long before we got to a point where we were just repeating ourselves as it would be episode 12. We'd be like, look, man, I don't know how many times I can say that those things don't happen. Like you don't get health benefits from those from on it. You just it's all bullshit.
What about cordyceps, bro?
Cordyceps. $80 brain pills. You think Joe Rogan has cornered the market on pills that increase your cognitive abilities and make you laser focused? You think he's the only guy in the world who's like, hey man, you got to get up on this fucking on it, brother. I don't know how you're not taking these brain pills.
The only person I can think of that can even compete is what's his name? He's known to boost his manpower with those pills.
You talking about the baseball player?
Absolutely.
We
featured him on the show before.
Yeah, we have. Fuck. I gotta look it up. What is that fucking pill that he takes?
I was gonna say, what's the name of apparently the ads aren't working because I don't remember it.
I can see the ad in my head though.
I can too. I see him smiling at those two white women.
Those two white ladies. And he's just like, I would take you and I would take you. and maybe you.
That's the one middle-aged man.
Yeah, the guy that they're shitting on. They're like, oh, my husband is such a lazy piece of shit. He hasn't gotten top of me in months, and he's just sitting back there holding the purse like, I tried.
My back hurts.
Fuck.
It's man boosting. It's something X, right?
Yeah.
Mucinex.
Mucinex, that's man boosting. Nugenics.
Nugenics. Yes.
Hold on.
Nugenics.
We're almost there. Nugenics.
You should have used Lottie as our producer.
Yeah, right? We should be putting her to fucking use.
Put her to work.
Hold on, I'm almost there. Frank Thomas.
Frank Thomas.
Slugger. The Big Hurt.
Yeah.
There you go.
Thank you. I feel like everyone who is screaming in their cards at us is now satisfied.
Listen, I wouldn't have been able to proceed with this episode until we figured it out.
Either. I'm sorry, everybody. Yeah.
And it's actually a really easy name when you Frank Thomas.
Yeah. It sounds fake.
Yeah. Anyway,
Frankly.
to illustrate, I think, what good can come of playing video games, we should talk about one of the video games that we've been playing.
Mm-hmm.
Now that I say that, I don't think any health benefits are going to come from this game.
Not this one. Not this one. Other than sweet relaxation.
Yeah. But still. I mean, that was the point that you were making earlier, and that's the point that a lot of people made, is like a lot of people just play games just to relax, just to take a load off. Day's been hard, and I just want to chill out for a couple hours. I'm going to lose myself in this video game. And there's absolutely nothing wrong with that.
No. And
there's no better game right now in the market than Ghost of Tsushima. We're both now at a point where I don't know, are you still playing Death Stranding?
No. So what I'm doing is thank you for asking. So what I'm doing is I'm focusing on Ghost of Tsushima because it's a big open world game, and I know I want to beat that before I move on to anything else. The only other thing I've been playing, I've even dropped Call of Duty for the time being. The only thing I've been playing right now is that. But when I'm done, I have a plan in place. See, recently online, there was a sale on Persona 5 Royal. I've had Persona 5. I didn't have Persona 5 Royal. So, segue into what we were talking about last episode or the episode before that, where buying games at release is a complete ripoff. It happened to me. I'm sorry, but it did.
Yeah.
A better version of the game came out that I bought for $60. I found the better version for $40, so I picked that up. So what I'm going to do is, once I'm done with Ghost of Tsushima, I'm going to play that while I'm playing Death Stranding, because they're dramatically different games.
Yeah.
That's my plan.
All right. Doesn't it make you want to just break something or someone when you find that?
It really does. It absolutely does. I was going to let you have Persona 5 if you'd like it, because I have no use for it anymore.
Do I need to have played the other ones?
No,
some kind of
not at
line?
all. No. It's like I mean, there are some through lines, but it's basically like Final Fantasy.
Okay.
Where it's like a new story every time. So.
All right.
Have it. It's yours.
Maybe I'll play it. Maybe. Somebody on Reddit was I was reading up on some of these games, and I was reading up on Ghost of Tsushima. For the remainder of the show, we will just call it Ghost.
Okay.
And they were saying that I can't remember who it was, some Japanese director, maybe it was a video game director or a film director, I can't remember, but he was saying that he loves the game. It's a beautiful game, and he's upset that Japan didn't make the game, that it's an American studio. Not upset in a way, you know, like it's I can't believe this, but just like, how come Japan hasn't made a game this good, or a game this faithful to that genre?
Mhm.
And somebody made the point that, like, Japan wouldn't make a game like that right now because it's just not their, it's just not the way that it's not how they present things like that to it's not the market they're going after right now. Like they're
And
still very entrenched in JRPG anime style characters as far as their
I
design
think,
is concerned.
yeah, I think the bigger issue here is the game style in general. This is very much a Western game draped in Japan, like window dressing. You know, like it. And I'd heard that there were rumors that this game could have been a Viking game or could have been a Middle Ages like knights game. And I can kind of feel that. Like it's great. I'm not trying to take anything away from it, but I mean it very much feels like a Western developed game. And you know, there are great games in a similar genre of as far, or not genre, but like style. With like Sekiro is super well regarded, samurai ninja game. But as far as like open world, very light RPG elements, mostly action games, there's not much of that coming out of Japan, and it never has. And I just feel like that's just a stylistic thing, you know, like they just tend to not. Japanese developers tend to not make those style of games.
Yeah.
That's the way that it tends to be more technical, more generally kind of harder, honestly.
Yeah.
More like the Dark Souls style of games. And yeah, I mean, it definitely feels like a Western game.
Yeah.
There's no way around it.
Yeah. Well, I mean, but they take all of the best elements from like all of these. It's a Western game through and through, and the biggest thing that the biggest marker I think of that, other than obviously the way that the game is made, is how much it's built on taking from all these other things. Only an American-made thing can be made up of so many other cooler things from the past, where Americans just go, yeah, we're gonna just Frankenstein stitch this thing together from all these other cool medias, and then we'll present it like, here you go, this is the cool shit that we like, and then we just put it all together for you.
Right. Yeah, I recently watched a YouTube video about some Japanese student who's now, like, he seems to be like European, but he is a Japanese teacher. Like, he teaches the Japanese language and culture to people, and he lives in Japan for a while. And I forget his YouTube channel, or I would tell you, obviously. But he pointed out, just in even the trailer alone, there's a video of him playing the game itself too, but pointing out that, like, the things in this game don't line up with, like, historical fact, and that's okay. But, like, it's clearly a Hollywood version of samurai,
right?
You know, and that's fine. It's fun. That is what it is, and it's awesome. And you know, it's accurate enough to make it interesting and make it feel rooted in a way, but it's not historical. It's not true. It's like everything from the style of dress to the style of combat is completely off. That's okay. You know, you don't think about any of that while you're playing the game. It doesn't deter from anything. But I think that ties into what you were saying, that this is almost like in the way that the Italians did westerns. You know, like a spaghetti western, where it's pulling from all these different things, and and it's pulled in from different influences, and it takes a lot. Those movies took a lot from Japanese cinema,
Yeah.
and it takes the best elements from those and makes it its own unique, like, amalgamation of stuff that isn't true to the real American West per se, but it's just really cool, and that's fine.
Yeah.
That's okay. Like, that's great.
Yeah. Now, all of that to say, I mean, I think, I mean, it's one of my favorite games so far, definitely of the year, and it's slowly moving into one of my favorite games of the PS4 generation.
Yeah.
Just, it's so much goddamn fun to play. There's
It
so
only
much.
gets more fun to play.
Yeah. There's so much to do. There's so many little. See, the thing about, like, these big open world games, a lot of them, they don't, like, The Witcher was really good at this. The Witcher is really good at, the side stories were rewarding to do. There's
Witcher 3 you're talking about in particular, right?
Yes, Witcher 3, yeah. Witcher 3, The Wild Hunt, where you go off and do a side story, and it meant something. It wasn't just, like, there's so many games that you do it, and it seems inconsequential in the grand scheme of
I've
things.
lost my cats.
Yeah.
Please collect my cats.
You go off, you collect all the cats, then you come back, and it's like, all right, that was just a thing to eat up time.
Yeah.
But in games like The Witcher and in Ghost, you do these little things, and they seem to mean something. They seem to build out the world. They seem to give a larger story and kind of bring it back down to reality. A lot of the time, where you get a character that, like, there's stories where like one mini story is this guy, he's going off you stumble on this village, and they're like, homeboy over there is helping the Mongols. You should keep an eye on him. And then you go over to him and talk to him, and he's like, no, I'm not, because they're like, you sneak out at night, where do you go? And he's like, I just do my own thing. And Jin, the main character, he's like, you better fucking fess up, or I'm gonna slice your dick off. So he's like, we can't talk about it here. We go, you walk over and you talk to the guy, and he's like, look, I leave to go visit the grave of a man that I fell in love with who died. And I can't tell people where I'm going, because they would know that we had a relationship before he died. His wife and kid would find out. So that's where I go. And Jin is like, all right, that's cool. Daps him up.
He kills him because it's Japan and, like, the Middle Ages.
He slices his dick off.
He done, demon.
Yo, don't bring that gay shit around me, and just slices his dick off. But I just think that that's really interesting, because it's not only is it a really compelling.
You probably should have said spoiler warning for that, I guess.
Well, it's just a mini game. It's just a mini story, like, whatever, or side story. It's one of many. I mean, there's hundreds of these side quests in this game. So, sorry, spoiler for that.
Just say spoiler alert right now, and you can edit that into the video before.
No, I'm not doing that.
Okay.
I'm not gonna give him that. Play the game.
All right.
I think that that's a selling point to play the game. Is to know
there are many other things of that consequence that are just side quests.
Right.
You need to discover.
Exactly. And then the mythic tales, looking for different pieces of armor, all that.
There's
cool
a really cool
shit.
like animation that plays beforehand.
Yeah,
it's really cool. I like it a lot.
Yeah, they this was a game that was really, really hyped up, and for the most part, I mean, it's not perfect, but for the most part, it lived up to every bit of that hype. And you can't really ask for much more than that.
Yeah, I mean, it is what it is. It's not a game that's trying to do something like Last of Us 2, but it doesn't need to. It's such a refreshing game to play after that game.
Yeah.
that we talked about.
Yes. It's such a
it
palate
makes
cleanse.
you feel, it makes you feel powerful. It's really peaceful in parts. I mean, obviously, extremely beautiful. One of the
We didn't
best.
even mention that.
Yeah, it's absolutely gorgeous game. One of the best photo modes. If you haven't played with that yet, I recommend it.
I have.
It's absolutely gorgeous game. And yeah, I mean, we're in that final stretch of PS5 where we're getting the games that are pushing the limits of the PS5, and it's great. It's paying off in dividends, and I love it.
Yeah. So, people, if you need something to do, if you need to kill 3 hours and you don't want to listen to the Joe Rogan podcast anymore.
Yeah, or if you're not trying to start your own BJJ school, you can instead play.
Just train, and then in 3 years, you might be able to open your own jiu-jitsu school, because that's how it works.
Easy. It's simple.
Yeah, I mean, that's what I want to do as a guy who practiced jiu-jitsu for a couple of months. That's the one selling point was, oh, that guy's a purple belt, and he's been spending a lot of time doing it. I'm going to go to that school, not the black belt school over there or the school over there that has a reputation of the world-renowned reputation. No, I'm going to go to Bob over there who's got a purple belt, but he's been training.
You know why? You know why? He doesn't play video games.
That's all I need to hear.
That's it. He listens to Joe Rogan, and he doesn't play video games.
He listens to Rogan. The Bro Jogan.
Bro Jogan.
All right, man. I think we got it.
I think we did too.
But before we get out of here, we got to rate the brew. So, yeah, nice. See, the reason I'm not doing the photo mode is because I don't really have an eye for photography. And I've seen enough really dope photos on the game already online where I'm like, I'm not going to be able to take anything cooler than that.
I can't do that.
Never be
try.
able to.
You can try sometime. You'll be surprised.
All right.
It's really easy. Yeah.
You've convinced me.
Okay.
Tell me what you thought of the beer.
I really like this. I like this a lot. And, you know, we talked before about presentation meaning a lot. And, I love the art on this thing.
Yeah.
And the even like the sheen on the bottle, on the label, I mean, is beautiful.
Yeah.
I absolutely love every single thing about this. I was really surprised when I actually went into Redlight and found them on display. They're really pretty. Even more important though, they taste really, really good too. And I mean, it's just really balanced, pretty light, but flavorful. And I was afraid this was going to be one of those that's like a little too funky for my liking and just be a little out there, but it's really not. It's really clean, really balanced, like I said, and right up my alley. A super strong 4 for me.
Super
4.5. 4.5.
I think a super strong 4 is a 4.5.
No, I was going to say I was teetering on a 5 for this one. A super strong 4.5.
Gotcha. Okay, I get you.
Delicious. I like it. I like it a lot.
I like it a lot. I would give it I was actually teetering on 4.5. Stop it. She's like, hurry up. I'll also give it a 4.5 just because it is a simple beer that does exactly what it says it's going to do. And if we've talked about nothing else, if we've talked about anything at the same frequency as Joe Rogan has, it's a beer doing what it's advertising it's going to do. Right? Consistency and reliability.
Correct. Balance.
That's all we ask.
Should be.
That's all we ever ask of these brews. And Redlight did that. So 4.5.
They did that. Go get it.
Unanimous.
Unanimous.
I think that's about it.
Yep.
I'm going to go play some more Ghosts of Tsushima.
I will do the same.
All right. Well, this has been the One Beer In podcast for myself, Marco Dupa, for Adam Obesius Rodriguez.
Yeah, boy.
Thank you guys for listening. Drink delicious beer. Like, share, and subscribe. Now on YouTube and obviously everywhere that podcasts are listened to. And have a beautiful evening.
We love you.
God.